when you look at underwater structures, you have to look at all the conditions that have led to their submergence. And in some cases, it's very clear that they've been underwater for a very, very, very long time indeed.
Deep beneath the sea, scuba divers have unearthed a lost civilization that could change our understanding of history. This remarkable discovery, akin to something from an adventure movie, reveals a long-forgotten metropolis that has baffled explorers for years with its mysterious disappearance. Hidden for centuries beneath the seas of Egypt, this ancient city's reemergence opens a new chapter in the study of ancient civilizations. Join us on this special episode as we reveal the lost civilization that was just found underwater in Egypt. The Forgotten Civilization. Thonis Heracleion is a city caught between legend and reality. This city was significant before Alexandria was founded in 331 BC. It was built on several small islands in the Nile Delta. The town was centered around a big temple crisscrossed by canals, harbors, and docking places. Ferries, bridges, and floating walkways connected its wharves, temples, and tall houses. Thonis was a trading port, and by the late period, it became the main port for international trade and tax collection in Egypt. It had a sister city called Naucratis, another trading port located 72 kilometers up the Nile. Goods were sent inland through Naucratis or transported via the Western Lake and a water channel to the nearby town of Canopus for further distribution. Thonis had a big temple for Khonsu, the son of Amun, known to the Greeks as Heracles, and between the 6th and 4th centuries BC, it was a bustling city. In the middle of the town was a large temple for Amun-Gareb, the supreme god of the Egyptians. King Nectanebo I added many features to this temple in the 4th century BC. The city had famous sanctuaries for Osiris and other gods, known for miraculous healing, which attracted many pilgrims. Archaeologists found evidence of the Mysteries of Osiris celebration at Thonis Heracleion. Every year during the month of Khoiak, the god was carried in a ceremonial boat from the Temple of Amun in Thonis to his shrine in Canopus. Alexandria became Egypt's main port in the 2nd century BC, and Thonis Heracleion's importance faded. As the city disappeared, nature also turned its back on it, and by the 8th century AD, it was lost entirely from the face of the earth. Disappearance. The great city, Thonis Heracleion, began to weaken due to earthquakes, tsunamis, and rising sea levels. Around 101 BC, after a terrible flood, the ground under the central island gave way. This happened because the soil turned into liquid, a process called liquefaction, which can be caused by earthquakes. Ancient historians mention that earth tremors and tidal waves were typical when Thonis Heracleion sank. Thonis Heracleion remained hidden and undisturbed under the seafloor for 1,200 years. Sand and other debris covered the city, making accidental discovery unlikely. This kept Thonis Heracleion well preserved, protecting it from looters, animals, and unsuspecting people. Over time, the city of Thonis Heracleion became a myth. Many Greek historians, such as Strabo, Diodorus, and Herodotus, mentioned it. They often included it in stories about legendary Greek figures like Heracles and Paris, placing the city on the coast near the Nile. Strabo wrote that in the distant past, Thonis, named after its king, was located between the Mediterranean Sea and a canal leading to Scadia. Diodorus mentioned Thonis in a story about Heracles. He claimed that when the Nile flooded the area governed by Prometheus, Heracles stopped the flooding and corrected the river's course. This story became the myth of Heracles slaying the eagle that ate Prometheus's liver. According to Diodorus, Thonis was where the Nile emptied into the Mediterranean. Herodotus said that Paris and Helen of Troy, fleeing from Menelaus, landed at the canopic mouth of the Nile. Some of Paris's servants fled to a nearby temple of Heracles. They told the temple priests and Thonis, the watchman at the Nile's entrance, about Paris taking Helen. Thonis captured Paris and brought him and Helen to Memphis to be judged by Proteus of Egypt. Alternatively, it was believed that Menelaus and Helen stayed in Thonis, hosted by the noble Egyptian Thon and his wife Polydamna. The 2nd century BC Greek poet Nicander wrote that Menelaus's helmsman, Canopus, was bitten by a viper on the sands of Thonis. Until recently, the site of Thonis Heracleion was known only from a few interesting literary and inscriptional sources. One source even described the city as a busy trading port, similar to Naucratis. The British Museum in 2013 noted that Herakleion was mentioned in the first twin steles of the Decree of Nectanebo. These steles stated that 1/10 of the taxes on imports passing through Thonis Herakleion were to be given to the ancient sanctuary of Neith of Sais. The Decree of Canopus mentions the city honoring Pharaoh Ptolemy III. It describes generous donations, sacrifices, and a grand water procession. As time lapsed, Thonis Herakleion was forgotten. It was almost as if it never existed until dear adventurers scuba dived into the unknown. Unveiling the Legend. Before the daring exploration in 2000, most historians thought Thonis and Herakleion were separate cities on the Egyptian mainland. However, a second stele of the Decree of Nectanebo. The first was found at the Temple of Herakleion. This stele had an order from Nectanebo, who was the first to place it in Thonis, proving that Thonis and Herakleion were the same city. The ruins, submerged in the sea, were located and excavated by French underwater archaeologist Frank Gaudio and his team from the IEASM in collaboration with Egypt's Ministry for Antiquities after a 5-year search. Gaudio and his team first studied historical texts about the area to narrow down the site's possible location. Then, they used various advanced technologies like a nuclear magnetic resonance magnetometer, multi-beam bathymetry, side-scan sonar, sub-bottom profiler, and satellite positioning systems to map the site. These new technologies were beneficial in the complex process of research and excavation. After the site was mapped, the team began careful excavations. They used several devices for underwater work and a grid reference system to document the exact positions of the artifacts. They created an excavation plan, labeled or tagged every artifact, and recorded its precise position. A water dredge was used to uncover the artifacts further. The team included archaeologists, artists, and photographers to document their finds. They conducted dives at the site on a tightly coordinated schedule for about a month to make the most of their time there. They systematically uncovered various parts of the site during this period. Gaudio's team had the policy of leaving artifacts in place unless they got permission to raise them for conservation or preservation. When they needed to raise an artifact, they tagged it, placed it in a plastic bag, and lifted it to the surface in a basket. For more significant artifacts like statues, they used a crane from their ship, Princess Duda, to carefully lift them. Once on the ship, the artifacts were cleaned and underwent a desalination process to protect them from the dry air after being underwater for so long. The site has revealed many clues about the city's history. Thonis Herakleion was most active from the 6th to the 4th century BC, with pottery and coins showing that activity tapered off by the end of the 2nd century BC. Among the discoveries, incomplete statues of the gods Serapis and Queen Arsinoe II have been found. Recently, maritime archaeologists have started using advanced 3D technologies. These improvements in sonar, laser, optical, and other sensor-based technologies make it possible to create detailed 3D maps and images of the site. This is particularly helpful because the city is submerged underwater, making it challenging to explore and document. From 2009 to 2011, archaeologists discovered an ancient Nile riverboat called a Beris in the waters of Thonis Herakleion. This boat matched the description given by the historian Herodotus from 450 BC. The city's buildings quickly fell apart and slowly sank underwater, allowing researchers to explore the site and find many essential artifacts. One key find was a large black stele near the temple of Amun-Gareb. This stele has a decree from King Nectanebo I, which talks about increasing support for the temple. It also confirmed that the city's name was Thonis, proving that Thonis and Herakleion were actually the same city, not two separate ones as previously thought. Another significant discovery was that around 70 ancient ships sank near the city. This is the most extensive collection of old ships ever found. Studying these ships provides valuable information about their construction and materials. A statue of a queen, possibly Cleopatra I or Cleopatra II, dressed as the goddess Isis, was also found. Archaeologists discovered a giant, well-preserved statue of the god Hapi at the site. Hapi is shown holding a tray with 4 loaves of bread in the statue. They also found many other items, including gold coins, statues of gods, jewelry, ritual animal sarcophagi, and ceramic pieces. These artifacts give researchers a lot to study. Some of the ceramics were Greek, showing that a sizable Greek community once lived in Thonis Heracleion. The site's research is still ongoing, with excavations happening every year. Gaudio, the lead archaeologist, estimates that only about 5% of the city has been uncovered. The team is still searching for more artifacts and remains. There's a lot left to dig up, which means there's a good chance of finding even more essential items or building remains. In July 2019, a team of Egyptian and European archaeologists, led by Gaudio, found a miniature Greek temple called a tholos, ancient granite columns, ships carrying treasure, and bronze coins from the time of Ptolemy II. These finds date back to the 3rd and 4th centuries BC. IEASM also announced another exciting find, a rare Ptolemaic galley, a type of ancient warship. This 25-meter-long galley featured classic joints and Egyptian elements like a flat bottom, making it ideal for navigating the Nile and its delta. The ship had been trapped under heavy stones and other materials that fell from buildings when Thonis Heracleion was destroyed. It was found near the Temple of Amun, held in place on the ocean floor by the weight of these materials. This Greek warship had sails and oars and was built using Egyptian techniques. This discovery shows the combined shipbuilding skills of Egyptians and Greeks who lived in Thonis Heracleion, where many Greeks had settled. Also, archaeologists discovered a tumulus, a small mound covered with many offerings like wicker baskets filled with fruits of the doomed palm tree and grape seeds from the early 4th century BC. They also found Greek ceramics, some with black and red figures, likely imported from Attica, a wooden banquet sofa, and a high-quality gold amulet. These items were likely preserved in an underground room or quickly buried after being offered, even though the city continued to exist well after the 4th century. This discovery provides evidence of Greek merchants and soldiers living in Thonis Heracleion. On September 2023, the Institut Européen d'Archéologie Sous-Marine announced another significant find, the site of a temple to the god Amun and a Greek sanctuary dedicated to Aphrodite in Thonis Heracleion. They also found many ancient Egyptian and Greek artifacts, including Greek weapons. The discovery of this submerged city, lost in time, is truly monumental. It has given us an extraordinary glimpse into the past, revealing valuable insights into ancient life. Thonis Heracleion is not the only lost city that Frac Gaudio has found recently. The lost city of Canopus. Canopus was once a famous city on the Mediterranean coast in the Egyptian delta. Known for its grand temples and lively festivals, it was a bustling place with visitors from all over, including Egypt's pharaohs like Cleopatra. Despite its fame, Canopus has been lost for over 1,000 years, much like if Venice had simply disappeared. People have wondered where Canopus was and how to find it for years. Searching for a lost city is a challenging task. Renowned maritime archaeologist Frank Gaudio led a team to uncover the secrets of ancient Egyptian Atlantis. Gaudio believed that if Canopus wasn't found on land, it must be underwater. In the late 1990s, Gaudio and his team focused their search on Aberkia Bay, about 16 miles northeast of Alexandria. They used clues from ancient texts to guide them, though the accuracy of records from 2,000 years ago is still being determined. What they found was beyond their wildest dreams and far more remarkable than they ever expected. Unearthing the lost city. Using advanced scanning technology, a team of 50 top experts and archaeologists spent 2 years exploring the bay's 200 square miles. Finding a potential site was just the start. They then had to tackle the tough job of digging underwater, 6 meters deep. Underwater archaeology is much more complex than working on land. Divers have minimal visibility and can only see a small area around them. In 1999, Gaudio's team made an exciting discovery. While sifting through the sand, they found part of a sphinx, a piece of its haunch, paw, and tail. This clue told them they were on the verge of something important, though they didn't know what. Nearby, the team uncovered a vast foundation wall. This wall was enormous, 3 meters thick, and extended over an extensive area. They measured its lengths as 30 meters, 50 meters, 80 meters, 100 meters, and eventually 103 meters. The foundation was as big as a football field. If the walls that once stood on this foundation were still there, they would rise above the sea today. These sunken ruins are part of Canopus, one of Egypt's most mysterious and long-lost cities, once cherished by Cleopatra and her family. After 25 years of excavation, many details about this incredible city have been revealed. Cleopatra's connection with Canopus ended abruptly in 30 BC, when the Romans invaded Egypt. Facing imprisonment and possible death, she chose to end her life, leaving the city's fate uncertain. Canopus under the Romans. When the Romans conquered Egypt, many thought they would destroy everything linked to Cleopatra. But the statues of Canopus, pulled from the sea, tell a different tale. A beautifully carved stone bust shows that Canopus didn't just survive after Cleopatra's death, it thrived. The detailed carving of the hair, beard, and body suggests the city remained important during Roman times. Under Roman rule, Canopus grew even more vibrant, attracting people from all over the empire. The Roman Emperor Hadrian was especially enchanted by the city, so much so that he created a replica of Canopus at his villa in Tivoli, near Rome. This miniature Canopus included a smaller version of its ceremonial canal, with crocodiles and statues of Egyptian gods. Hadrian wanted to bring a piece of Canopus back to Rome with him. By the 1st century AD, Canopus was one of the most fashionable places in the world. People came far and wide seeking spirituality, healing, and fun. Roman historian Strabo wrote about how citizens from Alexandria would travel to Canopus on pleasure boats to eat, drink, and celebrate. Canopus was a city known for its lively parties. Many visitors were drawn to more than just the spiritual side of Canopus. The city had a wild reputation among the Romans. The Roman poet Martial called Canopus the place with the most beautiful women in the world and claimed you could find anything you desired there. Gaudio's excavations revealed that Canopus was not only alive, but had become even more magnificent. The city expanded with grand villas, baths, and temples. It became more important during Roman times than during the era of Cleopatra and the Ptolemies. From the days of the ancient pharaohs through the Ptolemies and Cleopatra to the Romans, Canopus thrived for over 1,000 years. But as with all things, its glory eventually faded. Archaeology has uncovered many fascinating finds in the eastern part of Canopus, 16 miles underwater. Among them is a piece of a human-sized sphinx. They also discovered the head of a giant marble statue of the god Serapis, which stands about 4 to 5 meters tall. One of the most impressive finds is the remains of an ancient ceremonial canal that once connected Heraklion and Canopus. Alongside the canal, they found small votive statues that had been thrown into the water as offerings. They also discovered the nearly complete wooden remains of a ceremonial boat made from sycamore wood associated with the god Osiris. This boat and canal were likely used in ceremonies celebrating the mysteries of Osiris, an ancient Egyptian ritual. Other finds include parts of the naos of the decades. This ancient Egyptian stone monument gave guidance on the heavens and creation myths. They also found a Roman statue of Nilus, the personification of the Nile. The site also revealed pagan statues damaged in 391 CE by the Christian emperor Theodosius's order, a sign of the era's iconoclasm. Artifacts from the Christian era, such as coins and jewelry, were found, as well as broken masonry structures that indicate a massive earthquake during that time. Another significant discovery is the ancient Egyptian city of Akin. The lost Golden City. Many unique and beautiful artifacts have been found, giving us more information about life during the Pharaonic period than we ever imagined. The discovery of this 3,000-year-old lost city changes everything. This newly discovered site is on the border of the extraordinary, the ancient, and the new. Now known as the most significant ancient Egyptian habitation ever found, the once busy city of Akin is an important discovery in the story of human civilization. Excavation of the site began in the late 2020, and because of its size, more discoveries are expected to continue for a long time. About 500 kilometers south of Cairo's capital, the team started digging on the west bank of Luxor, near the Valley of the Kings. To the team's great surprise, mud brick buildings began to appear in all directions after just a few weeks. Archaeologists have now called the discovery the Lost Golden City of Luxor. The city dates back to Pharaoh Amenhotep, the third of the 18th dynasty, and his successor, Akhenaten. The site's rich history continues beyond there. Records show that Amenhotep III founded this 3,400-year-old royal city built between 1391 and 1353 BC. Amenhotep III's final years of rule is believed to have been briefly shared with his son Akhenaten. But Akhenaten, who ruled from about 1353 to 1336 BC, harshly opposed everything his late father stood for. A few years after his father's passing, he drastically changed Egyptian civilization during his 17-year rule, discarding all gods but one, the sun god Aten. He even changed his name from Amenhotep IV to Akhenaten, which means devoted to Aten. Akhenaten ruled the city with his wife, Nefertiti, who worshipped the sun. After Akhenaten's death, his young son, the famous Tutankhamun, became the ruler of Egypt and rejected his father's controversial ways. When Tutankhamun died in 1325 BC, his followers placed food and funerary goods near what archaeologists think is his tomb, retrieving lost ruins. As archaeologists started digging for his tomb, they found something very different. 7 months of intense and careful digging led to discovering a large, well-preserved city with nearly complete walls and rooms filled with daily necessities. They uncovered several neighborhoods, including an office complex, zigzagging mud brick walls up to 9 feet high, and huge artifacts from the time of Amenhotep III. Everyday items were found throughout the structures, many linked to the industrial and cultural activities that supported the pharaoh's capital. They found homes where workers might have lived, a bakery, a kitchen, tools for making metal and glass, buildings related to administration, and even a cemetery with rock-cut tombs. The digging also revealed many valuable artifacts like jewelry, colorful ceramics, scarab beetle amulets, and mud bricks with the seals of Pharaoh Amenhotep III. So far, archaeologists have only scratched the surface of this vast site because the city was recently discovered. However, this discovery is significant for the study of ancient Egypt. Even though the total size of the town has yet to be discovered, its age is apparent from the hieroglyphics found on many items. The year 37, which matches the time when Amenhotep III and Akhenaten ruled together, was engraved on a vessel holding 2 liters of boiled meat. The royal seal of Amenhotep III was also seen on scarabs, bricks, vases, and more. The mystery of Aten. According to Betsy Bryant, a professor of Egyptian art and archaeology at Johns Hopkins University, the buildings also had the name of Amenhotep's son. She says the city is part of Amenhotep's palace complex, known as Namera, or the Dazzling Aten. Despite the signs of the younger king, Akhenaten abandoned his father's city and left everything behind after taking power. Fortunately, modern archaeology benefits from this loss. Walking through the intact streets surrounded by high walls, you might expect an ancient Egyptian to appear around any corner. But why Akhenaten left Thebes, the capital of ancient Egypt, for over 100 years remains a mystery, even to the most knowledgeable archaeologists. The discovery of this royal industrial city may hold the key to finding the answers. During his reign, Tutankhamun abandoned Akhenaten's ways and made Memphis his new capital. He reused parts of the city. who took over after marrying Tut's widow, also used the city. The site's 4 different settlement layers showed periods of use up to the Coptic Byzantine period, from the 3rd to the 7th century. After that, it was abandoned in the sands until its recent discovery. No clear answer has been found, but archaeologists have uncovered other fascinating and surprising finds at the site that raise even more questions. One such find was a bizarre skeleton. It's common for archaeologists to find the remains of ancient kings and their subjects in Egypt. Still, one skeleton found at Aten has been especially puzzling. This skeleton was found with its arms outstretched and a rope tied around its knees, making us wonder about the circumstances of this person's death. Like those found in the Valley of the Kings, stone tombs have been discovered at the site, along with an entire unopened cemetery. Another fantastic find was a cleverly designed, strong wall of protection. A zigzag wall is uncommon in Egyptian digs, but this one is even more peculiar. The wall only has one entrance, leading experts to believe it was heavily guarded, or at least meant to control entry and exit. What was behind it? Based on the other discoveries, it probably protected a mix of homes and administrative buildings. One of the less exciting discoveries is a vase containing what experts think is dried or boiled beef. Imagine being the person who finds a container of 3,500-year-old beef. An interesting inscription on the container reads, "Year 37, dressed beef from the slaughterhouse of the stockyard of Caen, prepared by the butcher Louis for the 3rd Hebsed festival." This tells us the names of 2 city workers and confirms that the city was inhabited during the co-regency of King Amenhotep III and his son Akhenaten. The lost golden city of Luxor also had a successful bakery. Archaeologists found a well-preserved building with a cooking and food preparation area, complete with furnaces and ceramic storage. From its size, it can be inferred that the kitchen served many workers and employees. The biggest surprise so far was the discovery of 7 different communities. The city's extraordinary state of preservation means that archaeologists already know a lot about its most impressive features. However, finding 7 different residential neighborhoods in business and industrial areas revealed a wealth of information about the city's culture and economy. Another fascinating discovery was a place for spinning, weaving, and evidence of glass and metalworking. The only mystery that remains is why the city was abandoned. Within a year of its discovery, historians found that Emperor Akhenaten and Nefertiti moved the center of their realm to Amarna. With further investigation, they might eventually reveal why they left the city. Until then, they continued digging with eager anticipation. Just as researchers have uncovered lost cities in Egypt, they have also made another fantastic and magnificent discovery of ancient history in India. These findings make us wonder what other secrets might be hidden beneath the surface of our sprawling planet. The holy city of Dwarka. Dwarka, one of India's 7 holy pilgrimage sites, is religiously and archaeologically significant. At the western tip of the Saurashtra Peninsula in Gujarat, Dwarka is important as one of the 4 principal holy places and one of the 7 sacred towns to visit. However, its archaeological and historical background is mysterious. The city's earliest version, known as the Ancient Kingdom of Krishna in the epic Mahabharata, was a fortified city spread across nearly 84 kilometers, where the Gomti River and the Arabian Sea met. When Krishna died, it was believed the ancient city sank beneath the Arabian Sea. Now, historians and archaeologists are diving to find evidence proving the existence of Krishna's majestic kingdom, the lost city of Dwarka. The lost city of Dwarka. The most famous story about the lost city of Dwarka comes from the ancient epic called the Mahabharata. Just like Atlantis, Dwarka is said to have sunk into the sea long ago. However, unlike Atlantis, some remains of this ancient city might still be found underwater. So why did Dwarka sink? According to the holy book Srimad Bhagavatam, Dwarka was built because Jarasandha, the ruler of Magadha, constantly attacked Mathura. Lord Krishna decided to make a new city on India's western coast to protect his people. The great architect Vishwakarma designed this new city. Ancient texts say Krishna built Dwarka near a place called Kushastali. The town quickly became famous, with around 900 palaces and thousands of people living there. It was well fortified and could only be reached by ship. The lost city of Dwarka soon became a legend, sparking awe and wonder around the world. According to the Mahabharata, Dwarka was swallowed by the Arabian Sea on the same day Krishna left Earth to join the spiritual world after living for 125 years. This event marked the start of the Kali Age. The sea god reclaimed the land, submerging Dwarka, but leaving Krishna's palace untouched. There's also a tale that Dwarka was attacked by a flying machine called a Vimana. This story has fascinated people who think ancient aliens might have used advanced technology to attack the city. They describe a fierce battle where the flying machine used energy weapons, which looked like lightning strikes to observers. The attack was so powerful that it left much of Dwarka in ruins. Until not long ago, the story of the submerged city of Dwarka was just a legend. People often ask, is Dwarka real? Now, with the discovery of underwater remains and many clues pointing to this site being the famous Dwarka, where Lord Krishna lived, the question is if Krishna and his aerial battle were more than just a myth. The deep dive into the submerged kingdom. The search for the lost city of Dwarka started about 100 years ago in the 1930s near the island of Bet Dwarka, about 30 kilometers north of today's Dwarka in Gujarat. More digging was done in the 1960s, but it didn't lead to precise results. In 1979, the Archaeological Survey of India began another excavation, and pottery from around the second millennium BC was found. From 1983 to 1990, archaeologists uncovered a robust and old building that seemed part of the city's walls, built along the riverbanks. They found over 500 artifacts, including stone blocks, pillars, and parts of an irrigation system. These discoveries suggest the city has a long history, but experts still debate the exact dates. Dr. Rajiv Nigam, a former chief scientist at the National Institute of Oceanography, started underwater exploration near the current Dwarkadish temple, built between the 13th and 15th centuries BCE. Dochas S.R. Rao, a well-known Indian archaeologist, led a survey to find the sunken city and conducted a full excavation in 2007. He noted that the location of Dwarka matches descriptions in old texts, adding to the excitement about uncovering this ancient city. A theory suggests that the lost city of Dwarka was built on land reclaimed from the sea about 3,500 years ago. Over time, rising sea levels swallowed the town as the ocean covered the land. Studies show that sea levels in this area have changed many times before settling at their current level around 1000 CE. These changes might be due to natural events or erosion. While exploring underwater near Dwarka, archaeologists found many old anchors. This discovery suggests that Dwarka was once a busy port. Historical records show it played a crucial role in trade between India and the Arabic regions from the 15th to the 18th centuries. The city's name, Dwarka, means portal or door in Sanskrit, hinting that it was an important entry point for sailors coming to India. Now, archaeologists are planning a new underwater dig to search for the foundations of the ancient city walls. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.